Hey, remember about a month ago when I said that Knott's Berry Farm getting a Giga was the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard and it's never gonna happen? And how the entire concept of Giga coasters coming back was preposterous? Well, hopefully I'm gonna be eating my own words, because apparently a layout for a 325-foot roller coaster going to Knott's Berry Farm was just a leak. Just 5 hours ago before I started recording. And my first opinion of this is this f***ing real? I mean, the fuck? This is Knott's Berry Farm we're talking about. The park that's just completely landlocked. They're 100% developed. No room to expand. Excuse me for being skeptical for when the rumors first started. I tend to think if something's too good to be true, then it probably is. But seeing as how there is a public document for the layout, I'm beginning to believe that this could happen. Of course, there's always a possibility this isn't real. I don't know the authenticity. The best way I can tell if it's real, I compared it to the Orion leak back in 2019 to see if they may match up. The thing is though, Orion's plan is way more detailed compared to Knott's. The only thing Knott's has going for it is how the layout is outlined over a pre-existing area, so they're not going to meet up exactly like apples to apples. But for the sake of it, I'm just going to say this is legit because it appears realistic. It's definitely a lot more than some other proposed layouts we got in the past. Remember King's Dominion and their rumored B&M wing coaster? Yeah, that wasn't a blueprint. That was a rough sketch. But anyway, let's move on and talk about what this Giga coaster is gonna look like, and trust me, it's intriguing. First off, the height is gonna be 325 feet. Yeah, you hear that, Fury? 325 means nothing now. I just find it hilarious if Cedar Fair they actually make this thing 325 feet. Realistically, I think they would try breaking it by a foot, just do 326. And what's even weirder, they're saying the drop's gonna be 347 feet. Now granted, I've never been to Knott's Berry Farm, but I imagine the place isn't hilly or mountainous, especially in the parking lot. Remember, Fury's drop is only 320 feet. So for Knott's Berry Farm to do this, they're gonna have to dig a tunnel. And that's what this blueprint implies. That goes right under a road that connects the parking lot. After the first main drop, it goes into a L-shaped turn, similar to Fury. Then after this, I assume there's gonna be a series of airtime hills, because this is a narrow grass patch between road and more parking lot. There's not exactly a lot of room for maneuvers. Plus, B&M, they love their floater airtime hills. Although when it gets to this area, I imagine there's going to be a low baking turn, again similar to Fury. Justification, well, there seems to be a little more room, along with how it's kind of going in a diagonal direction here. After this, it goes into a helix. You know what else did I expect? So after the helix, the layout is pretty self-explanatory. It makes its way back to the station. Obviously, each hill or turn is going to have a lower peak. All in all, just judging it off the layout, it seems pretty solid. Dare I say, if this is true, I would be way more hyped for this than I was for Orion. Admit it, guys, Orion is good, but it could have been great. If Cedar Fair can actually do this in the future, then they were holding back when they built Orion. But final thoughts on the Knott's Berry Farm Giga is I will be greatly impressed if they can actually build this here. The amount of creativity for squeezing this in is mind-boggling. It's going under roads, it's going over roads. Heck, I'm even surprised for where they may put the station. Previously, we thought they were going to use the Mystery Lodge for the station, but as you may recall, I thought there was going to be a lot of problems with that, because it's kind of hard to build a lift hill when you need all this backstage area. But according to the blueprint, it's going to go right next to the Mystery Lodge and go on a pre-existing storage unit. So obviously they would demolish half of that building and put the station there. That way the chain lift can go in a diagonal direction, and the supports can just go through the other buildings, which is not that big of a deal. So will this Giga happen? Well, you already know my opinion. I'm always skeptical about this kind of stuff because I fear hoping anymore. But the fact these rumors aren't going away and we're actually seeing some kind of development, that says a lot. Of course, there can always be something to stop this project, like maybe the city doesn't approve it. Seeing as how it's going to be built right next to the residential area, there is a high probability that noise complaints will be a concern. No matter how much sand you put in the track, you can't drown out the screams. But if somehow a miracle happens and the ride ends up being announced, I just want to leave you with this. If Knott's gets a Giga in 2023, then Cedar Point is not getting a ride that year. They're gonna have to wait till 2024 at that point. But if I had to choose between Cedar Point getting a new coaster or Knott's Berry Farm getting a Giga, I'd pick the Giga.